What's up, you team of bad savages? My name is Tom, and today I'm gonna react to 13 things about the USA European can get used to. Also, guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, click the bell for notification, very important, and let's jump in, let's go.
Now, but there are still things about living here that I just can't get used to, no matter how hard I try. Hello, servus, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Felicia. I'm originally from Munich, Germany, but I've been living here in Cincinnati, Ohio, on and off since 2016. Since August 13th, 2016 to be precise, which means that this year marks my 5-year anniversary of living in the US, and for that occasion I thought it's time to reflect on a few things. So I made a list of things about the US that I really can't live without anymore at this point, which I released about 3 weeks ago on the actual anniversary on August 13th. Check it out here if you haven't seen it yet. And I also made a list of things about living here that even after all this time, I just can't get used to. And that's what I'll talk about today. So in a way, this is the more critical, whiny, first world problems complaining counterpart to the other video. Before I start with the list though, a big shout out to italki for sponsoring this video. Those of you who are interested in languages and want to become fluent in German or improve your skills in English, Spanish, or any other language, September is the best month to start or get back into it. It's back to school time, and on italki you can book personalized one-on-one lessons with italki is super effective. Hold you it from it acts a really cool back to school giveaway where you can win the checkout to the list of things about living in the US that I have a hard time getting used to. Number one is something that's been bothering me literally since day one, and it has to do with showers. I've mentioned this before in my video on housing differences, but in Germany, a shower usually looks like this or this. The shower head usually has a hose attached, and you can either put it into a fixture and just stand underneath, or you can also grab it and move it around. So in Germany, we use so-called handheld shower heads usually. In
Latvia, we have the same, literally the same as she said, and it's very comfortable.
US, however, the standard that you'll find at most houses, rental places, and hotels is this. A fixed shower head where the pipes are built into the wall. You can usually move the angle of the shower head a little bit, but that's about it. And my question is, why America? Do you know how hard it is to clean a shower when you can't move the shower head? A shower should be one of the easiest things to clean because it already has a drain and water in it. And
yeah, it not only it saves you that you can like when a shower has a pipe, right, and a hole. Not only it saves you that it's easier to wash yourself, but also it's easier to wash the shower and whatever you want in the shower, you know, in a bath. You just put it, and with the shower head, you just wash it, man.
Yeah, in Germany with a handheld shower head, cleaning a shower is really easy because you can just flush things away. But not here. Which is why I've been wondering for 5 years, how do Americans clean their showers? And when you build a place yourself, why do you choose a fixed shower head over a handheld one? I can't think of a single advantage. Handheld shower heads are also amazing for when you want to shower but don't want to get your hair wet, or for when you just want to shave your legs real quick, or when bathing a baby or child. Now, of course, I know that you can buy handheld shower heads in the US, but I personally can't remember seeing one in an actual bathroom throughout the whole time I've been here. The second point I've mentioned before in my video about 7 surprising everyday differences, and one of those surprising things for me was that people in the US don't use WhatsApp. I mean, it exists, some people use it, but many Americans haven't even heard of it, and unlike in Germany, and frankly most other parts of the world, it's not the default for texting in the US.
Here in Latvia, everybody uses WhatsApp. Literally, every second person has a WhatsApp. So for us, it's a default app that we use to communicate. Also Messenger in Meta, and Instagram DMs we use.
Instead, text messages are. SMS, which have basically been extinct in Germany for like 5 to 10 years at this point. Now, I'm
Same
not sponsored by
here.
WhatsApp, and of course there are also other messenger apps like Signal or Threema, but I really do wish that this wasn't the case sometimes, because the features that you get with text messages simply aren't as good as the ones you get on WhatsApp. Now, most Americans have iPhones, so usually texting means using iMessage, which is when the message appears blue instead of green on an iPhone. That means that you basically are using a messenger service in a way, because the message will be sent through the internet and not through regular cellular service.
Okay.
But even that doesn't offer a lot of features. As someone who was used to having all one-on-one and group chats taking place on WhatsApp before I came here, I was really annoyed by how complicated group texts can be here, especially when one or several members of the group chat don't have an iPhone. When I first arrived here, a lot of my fellow students used another app, GroupMe, specifically for group chats because of this. In addition to that, the search function is pretty bad compared to WhatsApp, and so is the overview of photos and other media you've sent, the feature to save messages, and most importantly, voice messages. I know.
Also, let's not forget that messengers like Meta Messenger and Instagram, they cut off the quality of photos. So the best thing to send the photo is through WhatsApp over here, because WhatsApp like destroys less quality of a photo.
That not everyone uses that feature, but I personally use that a lot, especially with my friends in Germany, kind of instead of calling each other. You can send voice messages with iMessage, but the feature really sucks compared to WhatsApp. You can't move the cursor while listening. When you record, it'll just break off the recording if anything pops up on your phone or your screen goes black. Plus, on WhatsApp, you can now even listen to the voice message at different speeds. Now, before you guys start commenting, I know that WhatsApp is owned by Facebook, and there might be valid concerns about using it, but at the same time, I see Americans posting 100 pictures of their family dinner on social media every weekend without even thinking about privacy at all. So when Americans say that that's why they don't use it, I always find that argument a little weird. And yes, other countries have texting flat rates as well and use WhatsApp anyways. So all in all, even after 5 years of living here and after switching from Android to iPhone, pretty much just to make it easier for myself to text in the US, I still find it hard to get used to using text messages instead of a more convenient messenger service like WhatsApp. Point number 3 is the lack of a deposit system here. To this day, I cringe a little bit every time I throw a can or a bottle away instead of collecting it and returning it to the store. Even if I throw it into a recycling bin, it still kind of feels like a trash can. It also took a while for me to get used to crushing the cans like this, which you should do here because obviously it saves space in the bin, but in Germany that's a big no-go because you need the barcode on the bottle or can to be legible when you return it to get your deposit back.
Yes, exactly. 2 years ago, here in Latvia, they started to doing the same. And from the start, I didn't do it at all. But with the time, I decided, okay, I'm just gonna put aside my bottles at home and start recycling, because it's very good for the nature. Here in Latvia, we have significant nature, guys. Awesome. That's what I'm trying to say. Very good nature we have, and it would be shame to just put rubbish into the nature, and destroy it. So we take care of our nature, and that's fantastic.
Context, I should explain that in Germany we have the Pfandsystem, a deposit system on certain glass bottles, plastic bottles, and drink cans, where you get 8 to 25 cents back when you return them to the store.
We have
so
10,
basically, every
10
German
cents.
household has some spot where they collect empty bottles and cans. Sometimes it can become a pretty big pile, and then you just take them to the store next time you go get groceries and put them in this returning machine, and you get money back for it. Some states in the US do have a deposit system too, but the incentive isn't quite as high to actually go and return things. Plus, I believe that in most cases you have to go to a recycling site to return them rather than just going to any store. Here in Ohio, they don't have a deposit system at all though. The city of Cincinnati at least offers a recycling service, which is good. So everyone has a landfill trash can and a recycling one here that get emptied once a week, and you just put all different kinds of recyclable materials into the recycling can together. Which is also kind of weird for me still, because in Germany we usually separate our recyclables by material and put it into different bins, Or for certain things, we even have to bring it to recycling containers ourselves. So long story short, it's still weird for me to throw a plastic bottle, or even worse, a glass bottle, away instead of rinsing it out and collecting it somewhere. But I did actually kind of get used to crushing cans, because I now sometimes catch myself do it when I'm in Germany out of habit, which sucks because, as I said, you need the barcode to be working in order to get your money back. I know this is a total cliche point, but even after 5 years of living in the US, I still can't really get used to the low quality of bread and dairy products here. I know this might sound a little snobbish, but I just really miss good bread that has an actual crust, and I miss good cheese, especially mozzarella. I still haven't found good mozzarella here. Even the ones in the deli section for like $10 taste like rubber, whereas real mozzarella is fluffy and airy. Same goes.
Listen, guys, I mean, I lived in England for 4 years, like 5 years, and I can tell you the same stuff over there. The bread is terrible. The cheese quality, cannot say nothing about it, but the bread, man, like I haven't eaten worse bread than in the UK, you know. So because here in Latvia, our product is very tasty and very natural. Not a lot of GMO, you know. So yeah, we are very blessed because of that.
For yogurt and butter, good butter is hard to find here, and so is good creamy yogurt, and kvark doesn't really exist here at all. So yeah, this is a total first world problem. I'm aware of that, but this whole video really is. But it's still something that is hard to get used to for me. The next thing on my list of things about the US that I can't get used to, even after 5 years, is people overdoing it with air conditioning. Okay, that's partly a lie, because I actually have gotten used to it in a way. When I first came here, I got sick from the AC all the time. And for those of you who think that you can't get sick from AC, I'm going to put a link to a recent podcast episode in the info box below where we talked about that. And I might also link an article down below. But back to the topic, I was just not used to it being so cold inside here everywhere that I was sick a lot in the beginning. And mind you, I arrived in the middle of August. So it was really hot in Cincinnati, but I always wore long pants and carried a sweatshirt with me wherever I went, because I knew that anytime I'd be inside somewhere, I would be freezing. And even though I still bring a cardigan with me in the summer, I can definitely tell that my body has gotten used to it a little. I'm just not as sensitive to the cold and the temperature differences anymore.
Listen, guys, in Emirates, right, in Abu Dhabi, they have conditioners everywhere, and people, the heat goes up to, like in the daytime, to up to 40 in Celsius, right? And most of people, they wear sweaters and long pants because AC is everywhere, you know, because they sit at home, there's AC, they go to the car, there is AC, they go to the shop, AC over there also, so they don't hang around a lot on the street.
I don't think I've gotten sick from AC in years at this point, which is awesome, but I still don't like it when I basically have to put on winter clothes inside because someone sets the AC to a freezing temperature. I know I also kind of mentioned this in the last video, but why not just set it to a normal room temperature? In the summer, that'll still be so much colder than the outside anyways. This doesn't only apply to people's homes, by the way, but also to stores and businesses. I'm often inside a store shivering in the summer. Another thing that I have a hard time getting used to in this regard is when people use their central air conditioning all year round, even during fall and spring, where the temperature is perfectly nice outside, at least here in Ohio. Just open your windows, people. P.S. This really shows that I'm German, because Germans are known for being obsessed with Lüften, airing out rooms. I complained about this one in one of my very first videos, but even after 5 years, my opinion on this hasn't changed, and it's about American washers, or to be more precise, top-loading washing machines, which I found to be much more common here than front-loaders. In Germany, it's the other way around. Now, I've never bought my own washer in the US. I've always had one in my rented apartment, or a coin-operated shared one in the basement or something like that. So yes, I know that if you buy one yourself, you obviously have the choice. But most households I've been to, and all of the rentals I've lived in, had a top-loading self-cleaning washing machine, and in my opinion, they're just not nearly as good as the front loaders that I know from Germany. It might have to do with the differences in laundry detergents as well, but front loaders, in my experience, just get your clothes so much cleaner. Plus, in Germany, you can choose the actual temperature that your clothes are going to be washed on in degrees, whereas in the US, washers usually just say hot, cold, or warm. I believe that they just use the hot or cold tap water instead of bringing it to that exact temperature. And the
Man, this is very sad because there are some clothes that you need to wash in 60 degrees, 30 degrees, and 40 degrees, right? So for us, of course, I have the same system, right, where we have like different Celsius you can set out the water to be, and you can like choose the material you want, synthetics, cotton, I don't know, like other materials, but polyester, right? So yeah, man, I mean, why do you do it, America? Why you love everything difficult, man? Here in Europe, everything is easy, man. Everything is easy.
Spiral thing in the middle has damaged some of my clothes before too. So when it comes to washers, I'll always prefer the German ones.
Listen, girls hate when the clothes get damaged. Nobody loves when their clothes get damaged, right? But girls especially hate it, man. My ex, she loved her clothes so much that I had to like drag the big washing machine from one flat. We rented another flat, so I had to like put it in, take it down to the car, put it in the car, take it to the place, put it in the new place. Man, that was like a headache, man, I'm telling you.
A Miele front loader doesn't get it clean, nothing will. Another thing that I still can't get used to in the US is feeling unsafe at times. For one, this has to do with me living in a city rather than a suburb or rural area, and it also has to do with gun violence in this country. I've talked about my views on gun control before, and I'm not going to go into detail about that here, but it was a huge change for me, and frankly still is, that I always have to think about where I can and can't go in a city. Like whether I can go outside after dark, or whether I can safely walk home from a bar, or when I visited Chicago a few weeks ago, for example, where I can and can't go as a tourist. I'm not trying to talk about why these things are different in Germany and the US and what could be done to change the situation, but fact is that in American cities, there is generally a lot more poverty as well as violence and crime than in German cities. For example, United Nations statistics show that the homicide rate for the year 2018 per 100,000 inhabitants was at 4.96 in the US, while it was at 0.95 in Germany. So in the US, it's almost 5 times as high as in Germany.
Oh my gosh,
now, Cincinnati surely isn't Chicago or Detroit or New York City, but in some years, it has been listed among the top 20 most violent cities in the US, with the current homicide rate being at about 19 per 100,000 people, so more than 3 times the national average. Which doesn't mean that crime is something I personally see in everyday life here, but before I came to the US, I never had to take shelter because there was an active shooter around, for example. And this happened several times while I went to college here, that there was an active shooter alarm that went out to all students. And one time I was actually on campus during that time and locked myself up in a classroom together with a fellow student. Unlike him, I had never had any kind of training for a situation like that. Luckily, he did, because American students usually get prepared for these scenarios in school. I also
Listen, this is one of the reasons why I am afraid to go to America, because of the guns, right? Here in Latvia, in Riga, it's very safe, guys. Comparing to America, it's super safe, right? Yeah, you can get some problems, you can sometimes find criminals here, but criminals are everywhere, right? But here, there's a less population, first of all. Second of all, people are not so aggressive, I would say, so crazy. You see less crazy people here in Latvia because the population is very small. It's very quiet here, very enjoyable. I recommend, guys, if you have not visited Riga, Latvia, come to Baltic states, go to Tallinn, Riga, and Vilnius. It's the 3 capitals of Baltic states.
I have a lot of friends who have been attacked or robbed while walking on the streets at night here. And just a few weeks ago, I was out on a walk at like 10 p.m., which is like the only time it doesn't feel like a sauna outside in the summer. And I wasn't in a particularly dangerous area, but the next day, I found out that there was an armed robbery on the very street I was on at around the same time I was there too. I must have just missed it, but I found out the next day that the girl's phone and car keys were stolen, and then they took her car. Long story short, what I'm trying to say is that it's hard for me to get used to the fact that I can't just go outside at 10 p.m. without having concerns. Just to put this into perspective, I bought pepper spray just a few weeks after I first came to the US. I never had that before, and during my 3 weeks home in Munich just now, I went on several walks, even later at night, and I didn't even bring my pepper spray to Germany. I also took my bike through the woods at night like I used to growing up. I used to always take the subway home late at night all by myself too, and never had to worry. So even after 5 years of living here, it's hard for me to get used to the idea that I'm limited in my freedom in a way. This one probably makes me...
Pepper spray is the best, guys. For self-defense, I recommend... I have had the experience with pepper spray. It was terrible, guys. Terrible. I don't recommend to nobody have experience with that. Maybe one time, you know. But for self-defense, it's the best.
Sound like a broken record because I've talked about this in several videos already, and even in my recent one about 10 things I had never done before coming to the US. But if this doesn't belong on a list of things that I can't get used to, I don't know what does. The American banking system. I'll keep it short this time, but I just can't get used to the fact that bank transfers aren't really a thing here, but instead you have to use a third-party service to transfer money from your bank account to another one. Like when you're paying for rent or just paying a friend. In Germany, for paying utilities, or as I said, paying a friend or rent, or really any other kind of service, any kind of bills, we just send money from bank to bank.
Exactly.
Well, here, that's not very common and sometimes doesn't even really work. As I said, you'll usually have to go through another service like Zelle, for example, to do that. And I even had to get approval from my bank first before I could transfer any money. Americans, therefore, often just use services like Venmo or PayPal to make payments, which means that you have to connect your bank account to an additional service and cover potential fees. Many Americans also choose to do this because they think that bank transfers and giving out your account number isn't safe. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but it's a pretty common concern here. On top of that, people still use checks in the US, which seems pretty archaic from a German perspective. I have several friends who go to the ATM regularly to deposit a physical paycheck. Why do people have to waste their time with that in the 21st century? That hasn't been a thing in Germany my whole life. The next point on my list is how normal it is in the US not to believe in facts. I know this might be a little controversial for some people, and this might be more of a recent development in the US, but ever since I first came here, I've been very surprised how, wherever you go, people sometimes say things like, I don't believe in climate change, or I don't believe in the gender pay gap. I don't believe in evolution. Or, of course, most recently, I don't believe in COVID. You hear that even from very educated people sometimes. And what's so weird about that to me is that in the society I am from, facts are not a matter of belief. Religion sure is, but hard scientific facts are not. You don't get the privilege to just not believe in a fact just because it's uncomfortable. Science isn't about believing, it's about forming our opinions and strategies based on a rational analysis of the information and evidence we have at the time. Science never claims to be 100% right. Of course, the current state of research on evolution can't explain every last thing yet. Of course, scientists change their statements about COVID over time. That's how it works. But it's still the most rational way of creating knowledge. You base it on all the evidence and facts that you have, and when new ones come out, you integrate those and adapt the state of research.
Listen, guys. Here in Latvia, we have like people who didn't believe in COVID, people who believe that the Earth is flat. This is the same person, by the way. This is the same guy, guys. Like we have these kind of people, and I think there are even these kind of people in Germany also. But there is not a lot of them, right? Conspiracy theorists, not a lot of them. And most of them are like under influence of drugs or some other stuff, you know. So basically, I would agree with the author of this video that basically we have the same over here in Latvia, but that we believe the facts. But in the same time, you see, the population of Latvia is like 1.5 million, man. This is nothing, literally. And like if the population would be like 7-10 million, who knows, you never know, because like we have a lot of uneducated people, and most of uneducated people tend to believe in conspiracy theories, and they don't have proof to back them up, so yeah.
And potentially also your course of action based on that. Now, I'm not saying that everyone has to be on the same page as me, but overall, I would say that this pretty much reflects the standard view in German society.
Yeah.
And growing up there, I've never experienced it as a normal thing for people to just not believe in certain things. That's something that I still find hard to get used to in the US. The next point is expensive groceries and cosmetics. Now, this is a pretty specific Germany versus USA thing, because groceries are exceptionally cheap in Germany compared to other European countries, but the US really is extremely expensive in this sense. As a German, it's hard to wrap my head around the fact that as a low-income person in the US, it often makes more sense financially to get fast food and takeout rather than buying groceries at the store. A normal trip to the grocery store with like half a cart full of things for the next week or two easily costs me like $90 to $100 at a store like Kroger or Walmart, which is where the average American goes to get their groceries.
Listen, for a week or two, $100, like for 2 weeks, $100, I think it's not expensive. I think basically in Latvia, like you can get cheaper, of course, for 2 weeks food, but I wouldn't say it's expensive in my opinion.
Fortunately, though, the German discounter supermarkets Aldi and Lidl have locations
Yeah,
in the
we
US
have Lidl
too,
also.
which is why I personally get most of my groceries at Aldi, where I pay about $60 for the same things. I only go to Kroger for certain items that they don't sell at Aldi, but every time I go to the store and see a small bag of almonds sold for $10 or a small box of strawberries for $5, I'm like, damn, I'll never get used to that. The same goes for cosmetics like face wash, makeup remover, or face lotion, for example. I've told you guys this before, but I actually still use products from the German drugstore DM for that, because even though I really tried to find good makeup remover and face lotion in the US, I failed. They were all like $7 per bottle, and none of them were as good as the products from DM for like €1. And I know that many other German expats, even in other countries, have the same experience here. Another one about houses is that even in modern houses, it's pretty common in the US to have 2 handles for hot and cold water at the sink, rather than having a mixer tap like you'll find it at most modern German homes. I don't quite understand why the mixer taps aren't more common here, because they're just so much more practical.
Yeah.
I noticed this one especially whenever I come back from a trip to Germany, but
why, America? Why you make it so difficult again? Why?
I'm always kind of aware of it in the back of my mind. There's a huge amount of trash and plastic in this country. People here get takeout all the time, and every meal leaves a huge pile of packaging waste behind. Many people use disposable dishes, even at home, because they don't want to clean their actual dishes. And people don't bring their own shopping bags to the store, but instead get piles of plastic bags every time they get groceries, at least here in the Midwest. Coming from Germany, where way more people try to at least avoid waste when it's not necessary, and where you have to pay for plastic bags at the store, and where plastic straws and other single-use plastic products have been banned now, it's just hard to get used to that sometimes, especially knowing that most of this trash is totally avoidable.
Listen, after the COVID, during the COVID and after the COVID, all the Europe switched to this non-plastic straws, right? Non-plastic cups. Everything non-plastic, right? Paper, everything that is disposable. Because during the COVID, the amount of the trash that been like thrown out into nature was a lot of plastic, and it destroys the nature. So I think that was the right move by the European nations to introduce this like deposit system where we like put our bottles in, right, and charge for the plastic bags, and like try to remove plastic as much as possible, to not destroy the nature.
And last but not least, even after 5 years, I still find it weird how big of a deal alcohol is here. I mean, I'm from a country where alcohol is part of our culture, where you can legally drink beer and wine at 16 and hard liquor at 18.
16?
While here in the US, not only can people not drink legally until they're 21, but there's also such things as dry counties, for example, where you can't buy alcohol anywhere, or so-called moist counties where you can get alcohol only at certain places or for certain occasions. And it's also still weird to me how stores need a liquor license to sell alcohol, and you often have to go to a separate liquor store to get it, even just beer sometimes. And it's
Listen, in Latvia we have the same, the same that like in Germany, but the only difference is that we sell from 18 years old. 18 years old, you can drink everything and like smoke cigarettes if you want. But in the same time, Latvia is one of the most drinking countries in Europe, unfortunately. Imagine we have small population, but the country is drinking like literally top 3, top 4 drinking country in Europe. Man, this is BS. We need to do something with that. They want to raise the age of kids to start drinking from 18 to 21, and I agree with this one. Literally agree with this one.
It's also still weird to me and a little sad that drinking in public is illegal. That means no beer by the river after you get off work, no drink while walking to a party, no playing beer pong at the park, and there's not a lot of curbside dining because of that either, because restaurants have to have a designated area if they want to do that. And even after 5 years, I still sometimes forget about this and accidentally have a drink in my hand outside, or I walk into a store looking for the alcohol section and then realize, oh, they don't sell that here. And that was the last point on my list of 13 things that, even after 5 years in the US, I can't really get used to. I hope it didn't come off as too snooty. As I said, it's kind of a first world problem video, and of course, these things don't keep me from living here. I still very much enjoy it. If you'd like to see a video about things that I really like about the US now, feel free to check out the first part of this video, or this one where I talked about why I really enjoy living here. Either way, I hope you enjoyed this video. Also, let me know in the comments what things you have trouble getting used to, either here in the US or in the country that you live in.